Good afternoon, everyone, and also to you, sir. Before we start our discussion for today's afternoon, let me introduce myself first. I am Rika Maradipolia, the first presenter of Group 1. We all know that Dr. Jose Rizal was known for his strong criticism against the Spaniards, and he spread the word without using the full name of Jose Rizal. Not that we're saying that he isn't brave enough to write his opinion because he hid his identity. In fact, he is one of the bravest Filipino in history. Using the real name of Jose Rizal wouldn't be a smart choice because if the pen names of Jose Rizal were not used, who knows, the Filipinos might not gain its independence sooner. Our discussion for today's afternoon, we will going to tackle the early childhood of Dr. Jose Rizal. Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Yolanda is the real name of Dr. Jose Rizal. Francisco Ingracio Rizal Mercado y Alejandro is the father of Dr. Jose Rizal, and Teodoro Morales Alonso Yolanda y Quintos is the name of the mother of Dr. Jose Rizal. Was born on June 18, 1861 in Calamba, Laguna. And in June 22, 1861, Jose Rizal Mercado was baptized at the Catholic of Calamba by the priest Paris or by the parish priest Reverend Rufino Colantes with Reverend Pedro Casañas as the sponsor. In 1864, barely 3 years old, Rizal learned the alphabet from his mother. Now we will going to discuss the earliest childhood memories of Dr. Jose Rizal. So the first memory of Jose Rizal in his infancy was his happy days in the garden when he was 3 years old. Because he was this time he was weak, ill, and tiny kid. So his parents showered him with love. So in his childhood diaries, he described how the age of 3 he watched the Maya Capra, Martin, Pipit, and the other birds in his garden house, and listened to their evening melodies with wonder and joy. And another childhood memory of of Dr. Rizal was daily Angelus prayer. So during this time, by nightfall, Rizal related to his mother to gather all the children at the house to pray Angelus. And the third one is the another memory of his infancy was the nocturnal walk in town, especially when there is a moon. So his yaya led him on a moonlight walk down the river where the trees' bizarre shadows were thrown on the bank. In 1865, his sister Concepcion, the eighth child in Rizal family, died when Jose Rizal was 4 years old. So Rizal remembered the shedding actual tears or actual tears for the first time on this event. So in 1865 to 1867, his mother taught him to read and write at this period. So his father had a classmate named Leon Monroy who taught Rizal the fundamentals of Latin for 5 months until Monroy's death. And during this time also, his mother cousins were in Calamba. So Uncle Gregorio, a scholar, fostered the love of learning in the boy's head. So while Uncle Manuel Alberto, noting Rizal's poor physical condition, was concerned with the physical development of his young nephew, and he taught the latter of love for the outdoors and also the deep admiration for the nature. And he gave Rizal the following advice that work hard and perform every task very carefully, learn to be swift as well as thorough, be independent in thinking, and make visual pictures of everything. And that's the end of my discussion. Now we will going to listen to my groupmates to continue the discussion of the early childhood of Dr. Jose Rizal.
Year 1866. Rizal started making clay and wax figures from his pencil sketches. He did it when he was 5 years old. Rizal is already developing and displaying his artistic side at a very young age. Year 1867, painted a religious banner. For a festa, new religious banner was painted because the old one was in bad shape. The mayor of the town made this request, and the residents enjoyed what Rizal painted and considered it was better than the previous one. 6-year-old Rizal was made fun of and ridiculed by his sister for choosing to create objects out of clay and wax instead playing with them. However, Rizal merely remarked, "Alright, laugh at me now. Someday when I die, people will make monuments and construct statues of me." In our time today, the word he spoke became reality because we can see monuments of Dr. Jose Rizal. 1868. June 6, 1868. To fulfill his mother's vow, Rizal traveled to Antipolo with Francisco Rizal Mercado, his father. This vow is when Rizal was born. His mother vowed to make a pilgrimage to Antipolo with their son Rizal. 1869. Sa aking mga kababata, his first poem was written by Rizal when he was 8 years old. Rizal's initial nationalist sentiment may be seen in this poem. Poetic lines demonstrate how people who value and are proud of their native language will strive for liberty. Year 1872. Started formal school in Ateneo at the age of 11. And at that age, it concludes Rizal's early childhood.
Good afternoon, everyone. In this part, we will take a closer look on the childhood works of Dr. Jose Rizal and how it inspired and molded him as a person and as a Filipino. While Rizal is known for his literary works, as a child, he is also into arts. At the age of 5, Rizal already started to make sketches and use clay and wax to mold mini sculptures. When he turned 6, their town mayor asked him to create a religious banner, and that banner is the Spanish coat of arms. He made this in 1867 during the fiesta of San Rafael in Calamba. Rizal uses oil-based colors in the banner. Of course, even for his young age, he is also into writing and literature. The first poem that Jose Rizal created when he was only 8 years old is a poem entitled Sa Aking Mga Kababata, or in English, To My Fellow Children. As the title suggests, the poem was originally written in Tagalog. It talks about the love for your own native language and how you can achieve liberty because of it. To cite a famous line from the poem, ang hindi magmahal sa kanyang salita, mahigit sa hayop at malansang isda. This literally means of whoever who did not love his native language is worse than any beast and a smelling fish. The line seems to be playfully written and is hilarious in a sense. But if you try to examine its underlying meaning, you will understand that Rizal is trying to describe a person being unwanted, irrelevant, and as lowly as an animal, just by not loving his language. The poem also stated that Tagalog is not a language you should be ashamed of, as it is just as equal as Latin, English, and Spanish. All in all, the poem depicts his young perspective in nationality through a message about the importance of language, especially Tagalog. Not long after he wrote this piece, Rizal also wrote his first dramatic work, and is still in Tagalog language. The piece was performed in Calamba. Next, even though this is not his original work, but this story molded young Rizal into what he believes and acted when he got older. That story is the story of the moth. This story is one of the stories that her mother told him when he was a child. The story is about a young moth who disobeyed his mother by going near the flame. As a result, the young moth burned to death. The story clearly relayed a message about obedience. However, it does not only leave a lesson to ponder on his mind, but it also made a profound impression on his acts. For young Rizal, he sees the young moth as a martyr who died to its illusions. The moth's death for him is a noble death, since the moth died fighting and sacrificing his life for what he wants and truly believes. Thus, he was inspired by the acts of the young moth since then. This interpretation of Rizal proves his intellectual capacity and the way he understands the world around him. He does not only see them in a literal sense, rather, he reads between the lines and makes a fresh perspective out of every angle. Just like the moth, Rizal had a noble death and is a true martyr in the eyes of the Filipinos. And that would be it for the works of Jose Rizal in his early childhood. Let's move on to the next reporter.
Dr. Jose Rizal's early childhood profoundly affected his mind and character. In his childhood years, he encountered various experiences that impacted his life. For instance, the upbringing of his parents. As mentioned in the earlier discussion, Dr. Jose Rizal's parents had greatly contributed on his values, virtues, and intelligence. They instilled in him the value of knowledge and education, in which he carried on as he continued his studies abroad, allowing him to better understand the Philippines' real situation. His parents also impacted his sense of dignity, bravery, and openness in expressing his ideas, in which these characteristics were evident in his fight for the Filipinos' equality. Even one of his mother's stories about the moth had influenced his urge to start a movement to change the unjust system in the country during his era. Without him taking the risk to awaken the minds of the Filipinos, we won't enjoy the privilege of freedom and independence today. Another event that has impacted the life of Dr. Jose Rizal was the criticism he received for his artistry. At an early age, Rizal has shown his talent for art, in sketching, painting, poetry, and even clay and wax molding. During his exploration to his talent, he received a lot of criticism from it, such as the playful mockery of his sisters on his clay and wax art resulted in him to dream bigger. He swears that someday people will make monuments of him, in which actually happened because of his remarkable actions in the past. Aside from that, Rizal also received criticism for his first poem, Sa Aking Mga Kababata, due to its controversial use of language. Because of that criticism, Rizal realized the existence of the transparent inequalities in the society. Hence, it ignited his passionate expression of nationalism. From the early childhood of Dr. Jose Rizal, we could already reflect different lessons in life. We may learn from his experiences that if we don't let society hear our ideas, we won't be able to make an influence. Today, expressing our thoughts and sentiments is crucial in communicating and connecting with others. By doing so, we could understand the people's different perceptions and discern the majority's opinion. In connection, Rizal's life also taught us to be risk takers with a clear focus and passion for achieving our goals. As students, these life learnings serve as a reminder that as we pursue our dreams in life, we must be always ready to face different challenges and consequences. From what Rizal believed, there won't be any success without fortitude. Lastly, he taught us not to be discouraged by the criticism of others, instead utilize it as a motivation to move forward. The same goes as we progress in life, wherein it is inevitable to encounter criticism that may stop our growth, but rather than taking them negatively, we must use them as a motivation to do better.
So, the childhood of Dr. Jose Rizal has been filled with him developing some knowledge, talent, and skills, and this would not be possible without his mother's guidance. And if there would be one person who played the most important role in the childhood of Dr. Jose Rizal, it would have been his mother. Teodora never failed to teach and guide Dr. Jose Rizal throughout his life. She became his first ever teacher who taught him many things that has molded him into what he had become. As most children struggle with family problems and mental health issues, what the world needs today is a mother like Teodora Quintos, a mother who would guide his child when growing up, a mother who is able to provide a motherly love, a mother who appreciates and is proud of his child's achievement, a mother who protects his child from any harm, a mother who spends time teaching his children what is the right thing to do, and lastly, a mother that is not perfect but tries her best. And as we all know, our generation today has become so sensitive and open. And as millennials reflect on people like Eudora Quintos, it would probably result into a more loving, caring, and supportive family that could shape the children's future and personality someday. It would also influence the young people and the rest of the world to be patient and kind with their children and parents and become role models for today's generation. And someday, we can all hope that we could have a mother-son relationship just like Dr. Rizal and Eudora Quintos have. So, that's it for the early childhood of Dr. Rizal. I hope you have learned something. This is Group 1 and thank you.